141s and C5s. So that beam means even more because I knew people in the Twin Towers, one of which didn't make it. I'm honored to have it here in Madera. And excuse me for pausing and breaking up a little bit, but it's a heart-touching moment for me. With that said, I would like to introduce David Giglio, who's going to be our guest speaker for today. Thank you.
So, some of you might not know me. My name is David Giglio. I'm running for Congress here, and you've met me over the last year and a half, and you've heard me speak. You probably know that I'm not big on prepared words, but I do have some prepared words here. But I did want to say a little bit. You know, when Thomas and Rick Farinelli called me and asked me to speak here, I was a little bit surprised because I don't consider myself anyone special. And I really don't consider myself worthy of the honor of speaking in front of you guys here today. I haven't accomplished a lot of the sacrifices you've made and the duty you've given to your country, but I do appreciate that opportunity. So, and as I was driving here today, I couldn't help but think of my two grandfathers. I was blessed enough to grow up with a great set of grandparents. And my two grandfathers both served in World War II, and they were lucky to have made it home. And many didn't. And when I talked to them, you know, I used to talk to them a little bit about it, especially when we had school projects about the war. And I could see the pain that they felt and, you know, the stuff that they went through. And it's an unbearable burden. And I did not serve, so I can't ever tell you that I can relate to it. And I know some people say, you know, I've done this and done that, but I haven't. And I feel that this is a special day and it should be about you. So I thank you for allowing me to speak. Like Tom, I did want to talk a little bit about the beam because it's also a day that, at least for my generation, I remember vividly. I was 7th grade, and I remember September 11th like it was yesterday. I can tell you the people that sat next to me. I can tell you what we talked about. I was in Connecticut at the time, and we had kids in our classroom who knew people that worked in the Twin Towers, and they were crying, they were upset. And as a teacher, so I was a history teacher, and it's crazy to me now that when I would talk to September, I would always take September 11th as a day to make sure we did something and we talked about it. I would bring in the USA Today newspaper I have framed about the day, and it's still mind-blowing to me that a lot of the children I was speaking to, even though they were in high school, they were not there. They don't really have vivid memories of that day like I do, and like I'm sure many of us do here. And it was a terrible day for our country, but there's also a lot of lessons from that era and that time. You know, that event, though many died and awful, it did bring us together as Americans. I remember that we were all united and proud to be Americans. And I know that today, it is another difficult time in our country. We are divided. And I think it's important for us to remember times like that. When Americans are challenged, we always come together and we always rise to the occasion. And so that beam, it always fills me with emotion because it's such an important day, and I really hope that we don't let it become just another day in history, and that we do pass on to all of us that were experiencing it. We make sure we pass it on to future generations, the lessons of that day, and you know, what came after it. I mean, many men and women were sent overseas to fight and die, and their memories must be remembered. So I'll go to my prepared remarks now. Today, all across America, towns and cities are donned with red, white, and blue. Flags are flying at our homes and in our neighborhoods, on our government buildings, and have been placed on graves and cemeteries, serving as the final resting place for those who have served our nation and made the ultimate sacrifice. America is deeply divided right now. It is likely to remain that way for the foreseeable future. Yet today, we can choose to find a silver lining in the sacrifice and selflessness of others, and many of you who have served our nation that are sitting here today. Without the fallen, we would not be free to disagree. Regardless of our diversity in political opinions, we must always remember that the ties of freedom which bind us together are much stronger than any of our petty differences. For many Americans, Memorial Day is the start of summer. We think of barbecues, we think of meeting with our families, we think of 3-day weekends. But it's not the same, and it's not the same as Veterans Day. It's a solemn day. It's a day for commemoration, and it's a day for immortalization. In 1863, at Gettysburg, President Lincoln spoke words so important that if forgotten, it could mean the end of our great war. He said, "We cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our power to add or detract." That statement and sentiment is assuredly true. No words spoken by the living can repay the debt we owe to the dead, to those who gave their lives in defense of our nation, our way of life. So the fruits of their sacrifice will be enjoyed by present and future generations. But if it's true that we can never find words and deeds to fully honor these hallowed souls, then let us forever make this futile effort, if for no other reason than to never forget their immortal lesson. Freedom is not free. It's not cheap, nor is it safe or inevitable. As President Herbert Hoover once eloquently stated, freedom is the open window through which pours the sunlight of the human spirit and human dignity. It's a rare and great value to humankind, and as anything with such nature, it comes at a great cost and imposes an even greater burden. In order to truly honor these heroes whom we commemorate today, we too must be willing to give ourselves, albeit in a far less heroic manner. We must strive to be worthy of their sacrifice and forever pursue the wisdom needed to avoid future generations unnecessarily sharing their fate. While we currently have an all-volunteer military in these great United States, nobody volunteers for service with the hope they will perish in a strange or foreign land. Conscripts and volunteers all gave their lives for a cause that they believed to be greater than themselves, whether they found that greatness in a flag or in friendship. General William Tecumseh Sherman, a leader in the Union Army in the Civil War, told his graduating cadets at the Michigan Military Academy in 1879, "War is hell. You cannot qualify war in harsher terms than I will. War is cruelty, and you cannot refine it. Let us pledge to do all in our power to lead with wisdom of those who came before us, to use our God-gifted reason to find the past to avoid future generations sharing in the fates of those we commemorate, wherever they may exist. And God forbid it be necessary, let us look to the commemorated for the courage and wisdom to emulate their heroism." As Samuel Adams once said, shall we always remember that the liberties of our country, the freedoms of our civil constitution are worth defending at all hazards. It is our duty to defend them against all attacks. We have received them as a fair inheritance from our worthy ancestors. They purchased them for us with toil and danger and expense at the expense of treasure and blood. Today, let us leave these grounds united by the binds of freedom and steadfast in commitment to ensure America remains the last best hope of earth. It is our duty now to make certain that the sacrifices of the brave men and women who gave their lives to our nation were not given in vain. Like I said earlier, it's a tough time in this country. I know we feel divided, but we have a lot more in common. It's not about Democrat, Republican, left or right. We have so much more in common that brings us together. And as I've run this race over the last year and talked to people, I can tell that there is much more that brings us together. We have to remember that. Sometimes it's tough to remember that when we're watching the news, when we're reading things on the internet, and we get sidetracked. But all of us here share a common bond. We're all Americans. And many brave men and women gave their lives so we could be sitting here today. There's a reason that people from around the world risk everything they have to come to our nation. It's because they believe, like we believe, that this is the best nation on earth. That this nation gives them a chance to achieve the impossible. And we have to make sure that our children, our grandchildren, and everyone we know instills that belief and doesn't forget that. Because even when times are tough, this is still the best nation on the face of this earth. And many men and women gave their lives for us. And they would, they would not want to see anything happen to it. So it is a burden we hold. It's a duty we have. And I did not serve, but my duty is to make sure when I was in the classroom, I knew that the children that I was teaching knew what is so special about our country and why our freedoms and liberties are so important and why they're worth defending. So I thank you today. I want to say God bless the memories of all those who didn't make it home. I want to say thank you to all of you who served that are here today. I think if you guys would if you would want to stand up, we can all give you a round of applause. It's because of all of you that I'm even up here able to talk and that we're here. And like I said, we can never truly repay everything you've done. And I think our nation owes you everything it can give. I think that we as leaders, political leaders, I am not elected right now, I hope to be, but all of our political leaders should strive to make sure that our veterans get everything that they need. Because you guys have earned it, you deserve it, and no one should ever tell you that there's not enough money for you, that there's too much red tape. That's unacceptable to me. You've paid the ultimate price. You've given everything you have to this country, and our country needs to do the same to you. So thank you. God bless you, and God bless America.